Call the village board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Gus.
Here.
Trustee Hawker.
Yep.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Addison. Here. Trustee Siddick. Here. Trustee Wells.
Here.
Mayor Hawker.
Here.
Grossman.
If you'd all please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In our consent agenda tonight, we have the following: approval of minutes for the board meeting of September 13th, 2012, bills presented for payment, engineer's report, and financial report. Is there any item that the board would like to have discussed individually? Is there anything the public would like to have discussed individually? There being nothing, I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hawker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye. Motion carries. One comment after the fact is I would like to pass on my appreciation to Peggy for the nice summary reports. They continue to make my life easier. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Even I can comprehend one page. The rest of it starts to get blurry.
Yep. Okay, under trustee reports for Building and Zoning and TIF Committee, we have a ordinance tonight, which is a text amendment to our zoning ordinance. This is a request that came through staff, and the intent is to allow a provision in the zoning ordinance to reduce the minimum zoning district or minimum area of a district by no more than 50%. What this would basically include would be in one of our business overlay districts, for example, where we have multiple small parcels, and that would still be zoned residential, for example. This would allow us to reduce the minimum zone required to introduce that B1 zoning into that district if we had a project that would be a standalone business that would come in just, underneath the minimum area. The Planning and Zoning Commission did hear this matter and did recommend approval unanimously. The findings of fact in that are included in the package here, and we have an ordinance towards the back of the package, which would be ordinance number 23. An ordinance amending Section 12.8.3 of the Village of Beach Park zoning ordinance. And I would make a motion that we would approve this ordinance as presented.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
John, I just wanted to point out, if I comprehended correctly at the hearing, the one thing that stood out was the original draft of this, if I'm not mistaken, was to change the ordinance across the board, and then it was suggested to make it a conditional, or to make it so it wasn't just an automatically allowed situation. It was to be heard on a case-by-case basis, and I think everyone was more comfortable with that, because there was some concern with it possibly being harmful if there was homes nearby or whatever. So instead of changing the ordinance across the board, allowing it automatically,
Right.
it will be a conditional use or a variance, or
It would actually be a variation. You are correct.
It has to be heard on a case-by-case basis, and that raised the comfort level
Yes.
for everyone on the committee.
We have had to tell business owners or developers that their project would not meet the minimum area and that they would need to go out and try to acquire more land in order to zone a parcel. At that point, most just say, no thanks, I'll move on. So this does give staff a tool to use, but it is not by right, but by application.
Right.
So it will be heard and considered.
So I think it's a win-win.
Yes,
in that
absolutely.
case. It makes it doable, but not necessarily automatically. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. it does also prohibit people from dividing properties after the fact and creating non-conforming lots and the same. So we do get this cleaned up pretty nicely.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Otterston.
Aye.
Trustee Fittig.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye. Motion carries. That concludes my report. We have Public Works, Trustee Otterston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing under the Public Works on the agenda. There are a couple of Public Works-related issues that our friend Marcia will be bringing up later, and so we can all talk about them at that time.
So reports on Beach Road and things like that might be coming in her
Yeah,
report. then.
she's got her finger on the pulse of that situation at all times, so I will defer my time to her later. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Public Relations, Economic Development, Trustee Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Public Relations Committee met on September 20th, and in that meeting, we discussed potential options that may become available to the village residents for alternative energy suppliers, which is also known by many people as an electric aggregation program for municipalities. We did receive one proposal. We had a presentation from a speaker, and I would like to suggest that the board consider recommending to staff that they pursue acquiring 2 more proposals from other companies that will also have an offering that includes an opt-in program, which is what we're primarily interested in right at this time. I don't know, do we need a motion for this? Yes, attorney's
You
not.
you can make a motion to direct staff.
Okay, all right, so I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to pursue acquiring 2 more proposals, so we will have 3 from companies that offer an opt-in program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We can do a voice vote on this, I think.
That's correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And just one other item of interest, there will be a prescription drug take-back day, Saturday, the 29th of September. It will be here at the Village Hall in the lower level, and the time will be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's all I have tonight.
That's an interesting event. 2 police officers, a box with a hole in the top, and a plastic bag full of drugs.
Lots of plastic bags. And I don't know, people out in the audience, you may have noticed we have a brand-new village sign that has the displays of all upcoming events, the village hours, the time and temperature. We're really proud of that. That was a long time coming, but it's up and operating terrific.
It's very easy to read.
Easy to read, yeah.
And the Public Works Department, in cooperation with the landowner to the east, trim the trees so the new sign can be seen now when you're approaching from the
We want it to be seen, certainly. And that ends my report.
Very good. Thank you. Intergovernmental Affairs, Trustee Wells.
No report, Your Honor.
All right. Parks and Rec, Trustee Gust.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just farmers market is still going on until end of October, and the only other item we have is on October 27th, we'll have a special Halloween needs day for special needs kids and at Crow's Farm on Town Line Road.
Oh.
And that ends my report.
Very cool. Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Trustee Siddick. I remembered.
You did, thank you, Your Honor. I have no report tonight.
But one time I remembered. All right. We have no village treasurer here tonight. Did you have a report, Peggy, on their behalf? All right. Thank you. Village Engineers Report. Marcia, enlighten us.
Thank you. The first item is information on the watershed development ordinance that Lake County passed on July 10th. That's in a summary of it is in your packet. That's on for information only tonight. The full ordinance is available for public viewing upstairs, and there's a notice been published that is required for a 30-day period, and then we can pass it. So it will be on the village board agenda. An ordinance for adoption will be on the village board agenda October 11th. So, and Rudy, I believe, is preparing that ordinance. So, but I did prepare a summary of the ordinance amendments and the activity of the committee that I served on behalf of the Village of Beach Park I served on the Lake County Municipal League Committee, who was successful in making some changes to that ordinance. So I provided a summary of that, and then behind that is a quick summary of all the different amendments in table form. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I also have copies of the full ordinance.
It's my understanding this is one of those ordinances that we're required to pass if we want to maintain our
Our certification status,
Certification.
yes.
and-
That is true.
include insurance, our floodplain insurance?
Yes, it does. It covers that as well. So just expect to see that at the October meeting.
I understand, Richard, you've been keeping your fingers on the pulse of this as well.
We spend a lot of hours out there.
Yeah.
Marcia's been there many times also.
Thank you
Like home
both.
away from home almost.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for your work on that, and we'll look forward to the October 11th approval then. Thank you.
Then the second item I have is the resolution to adopt the 2012 Lake County All-Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan. That's included in the packet. It's a resolution. There's also in the packet frequently asked questions about the All-Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan, and some information just on background. Basically, what it allows you to do by adopting it, it allows the village then to become eligible in the future for mitigation grants, either for planning or for projects that can help mitigate disasters, natural disasters. The county focused on several different types of disasters, summer storms, winter storms, tornadoes, flooding, and they did this process over a period of time. It's required that they update it every 5 years, and they did a pretty extensive process, had 4 meetings, had input from the communities in the plan. So adopting it is a good step for the village because it does allow, like I said, it does allow you to apply for grants later. The other thing that I did want to point out, and I was trying to find my page where it gives the summary, but it talks about the fact that this resolution, basically what it says is that each municipality that adopts this says that they will implement parts of the plan that apply to them as resources, staff, and funding become available. So what that means is that if the resources are not available, you're not committing yourself to any additional expense. So I want to make sure that, you're aware of that you're not.
And whose opinion is that, qualifies that? Would that be our opinion as far as what's
That is your
available?
opinion, yes. Yeah, because one of the points is that through the grant funding, that's when the funding becomes available. And those are typically match, 75-25, I think. But, yeah, it's completely up to the village's discretion in your regular budgeting process.
Okay. Well, we have Resolution 2012-R12
Yes.
in front of us for consideration. Okay. Get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would just love to hear Milt's opinion on this one. That's too bad.
Let me know if you hear. That could be a problem.
You'll be the second one to know.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Otterson.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
If there were only someone from the county here that we could harass about these kind of things. No, I'm just kidding.
Trouble in every direction but in us.
Then our regular monthly report was in the packets. It was part of the agenda item early on, but the only, I guess, the biggest project that's going on is the Beach Road reconstruction. I drove through there tonight in between meetings, and the project's going well. It's on schedule. It's, disruption because of construction, but seems to be working out, and everything's moving along, so.
It's nice to be able to drive on hard surface there from north to the city limits on the west. That's very nice.
Yes.
What would be the anticipated date of having a similar paved surface there for the eastern half. Have we got any projections at this point?
You were on schedule. I don't have my original schedule with me, but yeah, the intent was to have the surface down this, basically in October,
Yep,
end of October.
good.
I'm sorry, not the surface, the binder
The
coat.
binder coat.
Yes.
And then, assuming that things go well, we would put the top coat on still yet this year.
We could if the weather cooperates, but we're also completely fine if we need to wait till spring for that portion of it, so.
Right. Very good.
Any other questions? And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Village Coordinator, Tracer, you've got a few things for us tonight.
I do. Item number 1, consider proposal to approve Black & Black Architects for the Village Hall generator acquisition. The proposal is included in your packet in the amount of $4,895, and that's for the design, bidding, and inspection services for the acquisition of the new generator.
This is an item that we have budgeted for this year to install a generator to service this building, and this is simply the architectural agreement to get that process rolling.
And it says in the cover sheet that they were selected because they were the design architect for the Village Hall. That was an
Yes.
influencing factor in their favor.
Yes, yes. Accept a motion to approve this agreement.
Second.
I have a motion in a couple seconds. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Otteson.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
The second item I have is to consider ordinance amending Section 10.08.040 of the Beach Park Village Code to add a four-way stop intersection at North Avenue and West Beach Road. And the ordinance was part of the packet as well.
And that is basically a four-way stop at that intersection where we've just had north and south traffic stopped in the past. What's an ordinance?
I'll make a motion to pass that ordinance to amend to amend the stop sign ordinance to include that intersection.
All right. We have a motion and a second. That's ordinance 24. Any further discussion?
I just had one question. I know it's been discussed on numerous occasions about a possible signaling device to acclimate the public. Is that, Marcia, is that also included in the, did they come up with something on that for us?
Actually, because of the timing of it, and because of the construction we'll be just finishing, we were anticipating that we wouldn't need to do anything in additional because people will be used to the detour and going through there slowly. We can put up additional signage if we feel it's necessary. Or
We've had a couple requests to put one of those blinking lights on there just when it first opens up to get people used to the fact that there's a stop there now. So I think Gene either has that or can get that pretty easily.
Okay, I'll check with Gene.
If you could, please.
Yeah.
As one of those people that went to the Pierce campus in Zion, and there was a stop sign there at the street that goes between the two school buildings. No, excuse me, that's just west of the west building. And to this very day, even though the stop sign's been gone for almost 20 years, I still stop there. And I almost get rear-ended every time, but, so, yeah, it's an
That's
old
really
hard
your
habit to
Okay.
break if you're conditioned that way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Marcia.
That's 24.
20. Wrote that down on the page here. And we have,
First and second.
so roll call, please.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Otteson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the third item I have is to consider a resolution approving the reduction of the emergency fund reserve for natural disasters as a result of the summer 2011 storms. And Peggy is here if you have any questions regarding that.
This is the budget adjustment that we've been talking about, the fund adjustment to make up for the expenditures, and we have a list of the expenditures on the second page. Okay. Would accept a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
13. Resolution 13.
A motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
Is it appropriate to let the public know what the amount is that we're...
$107,809.55, reducing the fund from $1.8 million to $1.692,190 million.
Thank you.
Down to the dollar. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's the end of my report, thank you.
Thank you. Village Attorney, you have one for us.
Yes, I do. Mayor and trustees, you have before you a document entitled Code Compliance Deferment Agreement, along with an ordinance approving a code compliance deferment agreement between the Village of Beach Park and Costa Maravillas, who is the owner-proprietor of Emily's Restaurant here in town. A couple of weeks ago, I was tasked to develop a proposed agreement under the umbrella of an economic incentive to accomplish a couple of things, and this is what's contained in the agreement before you. One of the things is we received a letter from the attorney for Mr. Maravillas that stated that he was unaware at the time he was looking to purchase the property immediately to the south of Emily's, which has a structure on a former insurance agency on the first floor and an apartment on the second floor. And Mr. Maravillas' attorney informed us that he was unaware that that property was not connected to the municipal water supply, that it was running off of a private well. You have an ordinance in your code that requires within 90 days of the conveyance of parcel property that's not connected to the municipal water supply, and where there is municipal water supply available, and in this case at Sheridan Road there, you require properties to connect, which implies the connection fees, the cost of establishing the service, the plumber, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. Maravillas' attorney, who I've mentioned for the third time now, has informed us that Mr. Maravillas cannot go through with the purchase if he's going to be required to do that. He's not saying he wouldn't do it. He's not fighting the village on it. He's just saying, I can't meet the economic requirements of doing this all and, along with the purchase of the property. So when this was first brought up and discussed, there was some thought given to maybe deferring, not waiving, but deferring the time period within which he would be required to connect. It's my understanding that it went before the Public Works Committee and that they came up with a proposed plan, and that plan was that if the village would consider deferring for several years the connection requirement, maybe you could extract some improvements to the restaurant there. So since this isn't a cookie-cutter type of agreement, we really had to just start from paragraph 1 and go through, get the representations in there so that we all understand what's being represented to us and that this agreement is based on those representations. But there's a couple important substantive provisions. Number one, this would be a deferment, meaning that it is not a waiver for all time not to connect. It defers the obligation to connect for a period of 4 years from the date the owner closes the purchase of the expansion property. It's termed that way. The property to the south is defined as that property immediately to the south. But in any event, in other words, if they don't close for another year, it doesn't go, the deferment doesn't go beyond. It goes to, it ends on December 30th, 2016. So essentially a 4-year deferment. But in exchange for that, the owner agrees, and if you go down to number 3, Roman numeral 3, there are some conditions. In other words, the village does not have to maintain the deferment so long if Mr. Marvellis does not meet these conditions. Number one, there's been a pesky sign issue to the property, I believe that's to the north there, and number one, he has to remove that sign on or before November 1st, 2012. So that would be just around the corner. We don't have to consider enforcement actions. That's done, or would be done. Number two condition, and each of these stand independently, they all have to be met, that there be a opaque fence that gives some screening to the adjacent residential property to the west of that restaurant. I imagine the parking lot lights and things in the fall, though they're not open for dinner or open late, but also screening the commercial activity that takes place. So there would have to be opaque, meaning screened, not a chain link, but opaque fencing on the west side of that parcel property, and that would have to be installed on or before December 31st, 2012. So again, approximately 60-day period of time. Number three is that apparently there's some branches that need some trimming, and this must have come out of Public Works Committee, but there has to be some access to his property for trucks to go in and trim. There's an alleyway back there to the west, and he would have to grant permission next week or 2 weeks from now for the village to trim the trees. It'll be the village's choice, I guess, when you're going to do it and under what circumstances and within what budget, but you'll get the permission. Number four, there apparently is a fence in disrepair between the Emily's parcel and 38704 North Sheridan, and he will have to, on or before November 1st, 30 days, repair that fence or fence line. Number five, this one's a little more complicated because there is, while there's no present plan to extend the alleyway that runs behind that property, there is a right-of-way that can go down to Cheney Avenue, and if the village chooses to extend that alleyway, again, that would be kind of that would be a public project, he would agree to pay 100% of that cost, because there'll be a direct, I think, and meaningful benefit if there's another access available off of Cheney. However, he had asked, he said, with buying the property next door, with having to, eventually budget and connect the water if required, I'd like the village not to make that decision before December 31st, 2015. So that's what this agreement accommodates. What it says is, you can put your alley anyway, anytime you want. But if you want him to pay 100% of it, it can't be done until any time after December 31st, 2015.
Now, the one piece of the puzzle that we're not discussing that's been brought up from day one is that the reason for this is because his intent is to demolish that building.
That's number five.
At that, okay, all right. No, that would be number six.
Or six. Or number F. That's the letter F.
Confusing me with the letters.
Well, I intended to do that. I'm sorry.
That's just the vegetation.
Letter F, little f on bottom of page 4. There's a typo there. If you'll strike out the November 1st date in 2012 and go to March 1st, 2013. That removes the island and vegetation along the property line in front in exchange for him being able to park vehicles for his restaurant.
Right.
And it's termed in this agreement overflow patron parking. It's not for renting for parking or anything like that. It's for his overflow patron parking, and presumably if employees, depending on where he assigns his employees to park. Usually.
And Mark, I'm sorry, the second whereas, it actually addresses the point you were making about the reason why he's had a contract to purchase a property at 38704 North Sheridan Road for the purpose of expanding the owner's parking lot, and the intent is to tear the building down
Right.
after he's purchase.
That's the key. It's not, I mean, when he removes the island and connects it, he's going to add 10 parking spots in the front, but the reason he doesn't want to go through the expense of putting the water in is because he said his intent was to tear the building down and
Exactly.
expand the entire parking.
And that's one of the material representations in the whereases, which was incorporated by reference into
Right.
the
Yeah.
document, because I approached it on your behalf, assuming that if things remain static, then there's these deadline dates, and if they're not met, including the demolition, then he has to connect. Obviously, if he demolishes the building, or for that matter, if it blows down and it's not rebuilt, there is no longer any compulsion to connect the lot. It's only for structures.
Right.
So he's got to meet, he only maintains these deferments until these dates. So that building does have to come down in 2015.
16.
I think it's 16. We
It's 4 years, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
December 30, 2016, yeah.
Yes. So it's it's a way to approach this. It's one of the few restaurants, if not one of the only restaurants, other than Slim Jims and things, that you have. We mentioned that the consideration here is for purposes of economic development, which gives you the doorway, that opens the doorway for you to be able to make these types of deferment decisions. So it's a plan, it's a program, it's very localized to a very local situation at the request of one of your business proprietors. So obviously, the decision is up to you, but that's the scope of it, of what's before you this evening.
All right. With that explanation, and this would be ordinance 25, entitled an ordinance approving a code compliance deferment agreement between the Village of Beach Park and Costas Maravellis. Would take a motion.
I would make a motion to pass that ordinance.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have a question. Sure. Under whose jurisdiction would it come to monitor these deadline dates for performance of these points?
The villages, and I've had some brief email correspondence that it's important that we set up the calendar, the long-range calendar, and that these be monitored. I'll keep a calendar in my office, and between the two, then hopefully we can, and you can all keep your own calendars if you'd like to also. But it's good that there be more than one, just in case I decide to make moonshine in Kentucky.
Wow. Interesting choice.
You realize you said that out loud, right?
A lot of things are legal in Kentucky.
That's how far things would have to deteriorate for me not to keep track of it.
That was an extreme.
That's what I meant.
That would have first came to his mind. Any other questions, Larry?
John, we were just discussing item F regarding the removal of the island and
Yes.
possible overflow parking. I would think it'd be most advantageous to us as a village to make sure that we got some sort of a plan in terms of the parking area, showing the parking spaces that they're going to meet the village criteria, and also will maintain an orderly flow of egress and ingress from the site.
Assuming the agreement is executed fully by both parties, us and him, the next step would be meeting with our planner to go over specifics of what that parking layout would look like, because obviously it needs to work.
Exactly.
This by no means, trustee, waives or defers the obligation to meet the building codes of the village, and when you start getting into structural changes or even that parking lot island removal, that's a structural change, so he'll have to come in, and he understands that, I'm certain. So, but it's a good point, and just to be aware, because sometimes people interpret things differently.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Gust.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
And Trustee West.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. That concludes your report?
That concludes my report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Village Clerk, Larry, have you got anything for us?
I have no report.
All right. Under Under the topic of Mayor's report, we've received a few requests, and I can say few now. It was a couple, but now it's a few requests regarding additional liquor licenses in the village. As you're all aware, probably the single biggest issue that I've dealt with since taking this seat has been violations of our liquor ordinances. And so I walk into this discussion tentatively and cautiously with regards to how the topic is perceived. We have a restaurant that we know is being developed just down the street here on the old Corky's Pub. That individual has written a letter to the village requesting a restaurant license, which would come with restrictions on revenue, ratio of revenue with regards to food to alcohol revenues. Also comes with some restrictions with regard to the number of seats that can be dedicated to bar patrons, as well as the some screening requirements between the restaurant and the bar. We definitely, the intention is to have a restaurant that has a bar, but not a bar with a little bit of food. In addition to that request, we've received one formal request and one informal request regarding additional convenience store gas station licenses. As you're aware, our license that allows the sale of alcohol at convenience store, mini mart, gas station operations has some minimal restrictions on hours of selling. Right now, if the gas station is open 24 hours a day, they're permitted to sell alcohol 24 hours a day. A couple of our stations, as I understand it, are taking advantage of that. Our package liquor license restricts operating hours to midnight, 1 o'clock, whatever, and that has raised questions as to why you can drive in with a car into a gas station and buy alcohol, but you can't go to a packaged liquor store. We're at a crossroads here where we have an opportunity to discuss what that might look like going forward. We're in the middle of our year as far as the liquor licenses. They renewed at the end of April, I believe it was. And so we're mid-year on the existing licenses that are out there, but there's nothing that says we can't revise any licenses we might agree to extend to new business owners that are applying for licenses. I'm at this point not necessarily addressing the restaurant license, but I am addressing the convenience store, mini mart, gas station sales. I'd be interested in knowing if I am on the right track here. I'm inclined to direct our attorney to, or ask the board to direct the attorney to draft a license category that would basically have the hours of operation mirror our packaged goods sales, so that these gas stations, although they may choose to be open 24 hours, would be restricted to sales during the same time span that our packaged liquor license is permitted to sell. I don't think Beach Park wants to be the place that you can go 24 hours a day to get your alcohol. It's not very common in Lake County, and I don't think that's what we want to be known for here. We wouldn't necessarily be changing anything with the existing license holders until their renewal date.
Right.
But my vision would be that any licenses the board may decide to extend, to create, would be restricted by this new category. I'm seeing some heads nodding. This is a discussion topic now with hopefully an outcome to direct our attorney. I'm not asking for any additional licenses to be created tonight, but I think this is a great opportunity for us to have a heart-to-heart on what we want it to look like and just get it kind of out there so we can direct the attorney accordingly. So I just open it up for discussion. Anyone that has any comments, please.
I do have a quick couple comments, really. As far as the packaged goods,
under that area, what hours of operations are currently written versus the 24-hour?
I have to apologize. I meant to bring my binder down. Do you have that memorized by chance?
Not yet.
Because I just wondered, if some of these places are open till 2 or 3 o'clock
Yeah.
a.m.
It's either midnight or 1 a.m., but
It's no later than
it's no later than 1, and I
Okay.
apologize for not being prepared. That would be a consideration that we would, to mirror that.
Gentleman back there, the cop.
Midnight, is it?
It's midnight.
Thank you. Package liquor until midnight.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think I can deal with midnight.
Yeah. That's a relatively common time, so...
In all fairness to the package liquor owners, it seems like this is the way to go. I mean, I honestly wasn't aware that we had stations that were open 24 hours selling liquor around the clock. That's what they're doing, and we have an opportunity here to alter that.
Because all of our parents taught us that nothing good happens after midnight, so we don't go out.
That's, I think, the way the ordinance is written, this may be one of those unintended consequences. The goal was to never have the business selling alcohol at a time when they weren't otherwise open for business as a gas station. And what the end result ends up being is the gas station is open so they can sell alcohol. I don't know that that's a priority to be selling gas at 3 in the morning, but it may be a priority to be selling alcohol. That may be the entire reason for the gas station being open. I don't recall passing that. I don't know the date that we passed that, and I'm not really interested in going back in time, but it is the reality that we have today.
I'm all for changing it now to address with the new ones, and possibly notifying the holders of the other license mid-year, saying that, just so you know, when you come to renew, it's going to have a new category and it's going to have these restrictions. So if they feel like it's going to ruin their business, they've got a few months to get a welding license and go and do whatever else.
And I think that's a reasonable approach to deal with the situation.
Okay.
I don't think it's a no-brainer. Let's do it.
It seemed like an opportunity, and being that I've been getting to know these ordinances so well lately, although I didn't memorize the hours of operation that well, I would then ask for the board's blessing to direct the attorney to create a new license category that would basically mirror the existing convenience store mini market, and limit the hours of operation to be identical to the packaged liquor sales, which we'll call midnight at this point.
Absolutely.
All right. So that will come forth at a future meeting, as will requests that have been formally presented to create licenses, and then we can kind of keep that thought process open as to how you feel about that discussion as well.
Since it's going to be evolving, I mean, it's not going to be too complicated to do this, but there's a couple of considerations unique to the fact that the village has these mini-marts, which are gas stations, and if we're all familiar with the layout of mini-marts, and they have alcohol displays and availability. One thing just to think about, and I'll take input from anybody who wants to give it to me, and maybe at a discussion when we look at a first draft of this, do you want to have within the ordinance some requirement, and as this license gets revised, for physical separation and barrier of the alcohol inventory that's on display in there from the balance of the store that'll be wide open from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Would we be at a point of opportunity where we could just start talking about our first mini-mart alcohol license? That's real easy to do, but you've got physical characteristics and construction in these existing locations that may make that somewhat difficult. But I only bring it out simply because access to it, and I mean, it's just a matter of somebody grabbing a bottle and going at 2 a.m. and going up to the cash register, and if they ring it up, it's there. If it's physically separated, that's one thing. Although our sheriff's department has been doing great, and we'll have compliance checks on that also, I'm sure, going out. Okay, well, then maybe the physical separation isn't that big of a deal.
Good thought, that's a good idea.
Mini marts are restricted to just beer and wine, correct? They're
No.
not.
It's a single category of liquor.
It's an amazing license.
Do they keep the liquor behind the counter, or is it out on the shelves?
There's no restriction on where the display can be.
Because I think from what I've seen, a lot of times whatever's in the cooler, they just have the ability to lock those doors at a certain time, and then the hard liquor would be behind the counter on a rack, and they just wouldn't be able to.
More than likely. The place where it might become difficult is if they have like displays of, a sale product or something like that. And that would, of course, that discussion about locking or separating would only come into play if the store is open beyond the hours of the license.
Correct.
So that would be a choice that the business owner would make. I think whatever the method is, we have to have a method that we can be comfortable with should the business be open past those hours.
John, I also think, I know we've talked about the various options in terms of barriers. I also think that there has to be a certain element of responsibility on the part of the business owner that comes with the provisions of obtaining that license. So I think that, again, that they have to, I know we're in a society where no one wants to take responsibility for anything of a different ilk. And I think that, again, that the business owners bear their predominance of the responsibility to make sure they maintain the standards in order to meet the criteria set forth in the village ordinance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Then just a voice vote to direct the attorney to make these modifications that we've been discussing and bring a draft back to us for review. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now is the time for any citizen that would wish to address this august body to rise, come to the podium, state your name, your case, and let us have it. Oh, come on.
I'll speak at once now.
It's not August anymore.
It's not August? Okay. All right. There being none, I have no cause for an executive session tonight. Is there any other business? There being none, accept a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Hucker.
Aye.
Trustee Miller. Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.